Well, it looks like Donald Trump, the idiot that you guys elected in the White House, has finally managed to get another one of his friends. Is Elon considered his friend? Well, Donald Trump has managed to get Elon fired from his own country. Let's get into it.
Spending is on hold.
Nothing that is being done, nothing, is actually making life better for the American people.
Elon Musk has been a big part of the first 100 days, across the 100 days, as you probably noticed. And now we have a special report on one of the most unprecedented parts of all this. The world's richest man reportedly now moving beyond daily government work. That's the plan. I'll explain that in a moment. But he did join the cabinet meeting today in a little bit of a different posture. If you think that body language matters, and in Hollywood and Washington, it certainly often does. Back in February, he was very big, standing over, almost lording over the meeting, bravado. Today, while definitely a presence, he was seated. It seemed almost coordinated, as the president also made a point of praising Musk while hinting at his departure.
This whole room can say that very strongly. You've really been a tremendous help. You opened up a lot of eyes as to what could be done. And we just want to thank you very much. And, you know, you're invited to stay as long as you want. And at some point, I guess he wants to get back home to his car.
This is not political rocket science. You can kind of see what's happening. Special acknowledgement, the applause, alluding to going, but not being pushed out. Stay as long as you want. There's actually more to that under law, which I'll explain in our report. But we have evidence that Musk is planning to get back to his day job or other business day job, so to speak. And we have evidence that is documented, because there are still rules, even if you're pals with the president and a partial government employee. There are rules through the SEC and shareholder and regular updates about what the CEO is up to. Musk has told Tesla shareholders he'll spend less time on the federal government stuff and more time running the company. His personal fortune has crashed an astounding $114 billion in these 100 days. That is a ton even for someone as rich as Musk, over $1 billion a day lost. And it is related. Musk, of course, broke out his chainsaw, and he got some things done in Washington, trying to use what are basically quick fixes instead of the longer hard work of changing staffing plans for a multi-year budget with Congress. He went in and tried to pick off or fire the people that were easiest to do under the current rules. His fortune, of course, is based on many things, but a huge part is the only currently publicly traded company he has, Tesla. You can see the price dropping over a third. And there are a range of reasons, but even Tesla analysts and pro-market people who want Tesla to succeed have complained that partly it's that Musk has politicized himself, his brand, and his companies. The regular Americans have taken the protests against Musk's government cuts and taken them out in the streets, in the fields, into Tesla shops, calls for boycotts. But it also goes beyond that company. Americans have been clear that the idea that a part-time employee of the federal government, who also insists on running his other companies, having this much power over our federal government and our staff and various programs, that people don't think that's a good idea, and that they are aware of the obvious conflicts of interests.
My concern right now, and I think I speak for a lot of Americans, is Elon Musk.
Elon Musk and those have been authorized by the President of the United States.
Can we count on you to go back to Washington and demand immediate oversight into Jones and Elon Musk?
These are real people looking at this real situation and with their response. And we've covered before how some things in government still work. We've seen the Supreme Court continue to do its job and enforce limits. We've seen some agencies enforce limits. We've also seen the Trump folks push and get away with a lot. But keep in mind, most members of the Trump administration and all of the cabinet, they are following the current rules. They don't think they would get away with breaking the law on that and still trying to order around federal government employees. If you insisted on running, say, the Treasury Department and Goldman Sachs and making money self-dealing, We have every reason to think a court would say no. And then all the employees at that agency would say, I'm not following your orders because the court just said you're not in charge. There are things that still work, is my point. Musk has found a temporary loophole where he doesn't have the same level of divestment, oversight, or transparency because he's a part-time employee, what's called a special government employee. It's that loophole. So you don't actually have to go as far with the ethics requirements and financial disclosures, let alone divesting your whole company, because the idea as flexibility was sometimes the government might need a certain expertise from someone who's not gonna easily step away from their whole job forever. But there's a limit, 130 days of government work a year. Under law, that's the limit. And there's evidence he's spent, and this is debatable, but Fortune says about 90 days so far doing it. And he says he wants to keep working a day or two a week. He could stretch this out and kind of keep in a relationship with the president. But the larger point is, however it seems sort of random, and now they're having the meeting, and hey, thanks a lot, they're heading towards a 130-day break. And maybe they don't like admitting at the Trump White House that they're following the rules all the time. So they're not citing that reason. But it is interesting to see they're approaching that limit. And remember, Musk could keep working after that limit if he just wanted to follow rules like everyone else, do some disclosures, join the cabinet. Only he can say, and only he might really know why he's so afraid or unwilling to do that if this public interest job was so important. Meanwhile, the Republican speaker is blocking basic efforts that the Democrats have pushed to deal more directly with this new situation of this sweeping government employee having so many conflicts.
We have seen as Elon Musk is on his exit out of the federal government, he has secured billions of dollars in new contracts across the federal government. Conflict of interest? Yes, absolutely.
That's the Democrats using their bully pulpit to flag this. They don't have enough votes to force the floor to take it up in the House. So we're reporting on how democracy works. Republicans had a real but slim House majority, and the Dems would need to convince some Republicans to join them to get that floor action I mentioned. But this is still a big problem. I've told you there's sometimes in politics where we just get a denial that, no, it's no problem. Musk and Trump understood it was a problem, so they didn't deny that conflicts were an issue. Instead, remember, they initially made a big show of claiming there would be no business conflicts, no requests for help. It was a vow that they then very publicly broke.
I mean, I haven't asked the president for anything ever.
And if it comes up, how will you handle it?
Well,
He won't be involved.
yeah, I'll recuse myself if it is.
If there's a conflict, he won't be involved.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't want that, and he won't want it.
I love Tesla. You got to give him credit.
We want the future to look like the future, and it's kind of what kind of truck would Blade Runner drive?
The one I like is that one. And I want that same color.
The fact check for both of them, false. Musk did not recuse from the Tesla event on the White House lawn. Maybe the stock price pressure made him rethink the limits that he claimed so loudly on Fox News and television and elsewhere, but they're literally hawking the company's product. If you saw it in a movie, you'd say that's a bit blatant. Would they really do it like a showroom? That is how Musk has been running roughshod over not only the spirit of the rules, but his own claims for himself. His companies also have contracts with many different federal agencies. And as I've told you before, some of his companies have done remarkable things. They produce value. They were under contracts before he had this relationship with the current administration. So we want factually to report on this and make sure that you're not getting ripped off. But we're not suggesting that he's never done anything of independent value. The problem is now he wants it both ways. And then also trying to slash the government and fire all these federal workers while doing business with the federal government. The savings that he said he would produce, the claims about them have also gone down.
I think we can do at least $2 trillion.
I think we'll try for $2 trillion. I think that's like the best case outcome. But I do think that you kind of have to have some overage. I think if we try for $2 trillion, we've got a good shot at getting $1. We can actually find $1 trillion in savings. That would be roughly 15% of the $7 trillion budget. I'm excited to announce that we anticipate savings in FY26 from reduction of waste and fraud by $150 billion.
Those were Musk's claims. Now, let's look at an independent audit. That's what most companies rely on, especially when they're looking outside at a merger or buying something, the New York Times reports Musk's approach to government cost taxpayers over $130 billion. In other words, the bulk of what Musk has done has wiped out the claimed savings, even if you quote his current agency. And you take that together, and the numbers aren't really adding up. Not for the claimed savings for the federal government, definitely not for Mr. Musk's loss of over $100 billion. What did we just live through?
We just lived through a bunch of damn lies. Donald Trump in his lies, his administration is lies and incompetent as hell. That's what we're living through.